The silence in the Jingshi was no longer peaceful, it was heavy, suffocating Wei Ying as he sat by the window, his hand resting instinctively over the slight curve of his stomach. At 4 months, the life growing inside him was starting to make its presence known with dull aches and a constant, wearying fatigue. The door slid open. The scent of sandalwood entered, but it was tainted, overlaid with a flowery, cloying perfume that didn't belong to their home. "You're late, Lan Zhan," Wei Ying said, his voice trembling despite his attempt at cheerfulness. Lan Wangji didn't look at him. He began untying his forehead ribbon with clinical precision. "I was delayed. Delayed with Su Shi." Wei Ying stood up slowly, his hand bracing against the table for support. "Zhang Cheng saw you at the tea house. He said you were attentive. More attentive than you've been here in a year." The cold truth. Lan Wangji finally turned, his eyes like chips of ice. "Su Shi is unwell. He needed support. And I don't." Wei Ying's voice cracked. He gestured to his midsection. "Lan Zhan, I am carrying your child. I've been sick for 3 days straight, and the only person who came to check on me was Wen Ning with some medicinal soup. Where were you?" "This marriage was a duty, Wei Ying," Lan Wangji replied coldly, each word a dagger. "My parents' wish. Your parents' wish. I have fulfilled that duty. Do not demand my heart as well." Wei Ying flinched as if struck. "A duty? Is that all this baby is to you? An obligation?" "I will provide for the child," Lan Wangji said, turning his back. "But do not expect me to play the part of the doting husband. My affections lie elsewhere. You have always known this." A brother's rage. The next morning, the tension reached a breaking point when Zhang Cheng stormed into the cloud recesses, ignoring the disciples who tried to stop him. He found Wei Ying sitting in the gardens, looking pale and ghostly. "That's it," Zhang Cheng barked, grabbing Wei Ying's wrist. "You're coming back to Lotus Pier. I don't care what the elders say." "Zhang Cheng, stop," Wei Ying whispered, trying to pull away. "I can't just leave." "Why not? Look at you." Zhang Cheng pointed an accusing finger at the Jingshi. "He's out there buying spiritual jewelry for that snake Su Shi while you're here barely able to keep food down. Does he even know you fainted yesterday?" "It was just the heat," Wei Ying lied, his eyes casting downward. "It wasn't the heat." Wen Ning stepped forward timidly from the shadows, his face full of concern. "Young Master Wei, your golden core is strained. The pregnancy is taking more out of you because you're unhappy. The energy flow is blocked by grief." The confrontation. Just then, Lan Wangji approached the garden path. He stopped when he saw the commotion, his expression unreadable. "Lan Wangji," Zhang Cheng snarled, stepping toward him. "You absolute coward. If you didn't want him, you should have fought your uncle harder. Instead, you took him, trapped him, and now you're neglecting him while he carries your heir." Lan Wangji's jaw tightened. "Zhang Wanyan, this is a private matter." "Private? You're making a fool of him in front of the whole cultivation world." Zhang Cheng spat. "Everyone knows you spend your evenings at the guest quarters with your first love. Do you have any idea how much pain Wei Ying is in?" Lan Wangji looked at Wei Ying, then really looked at him. He saw the dark circles under his eyes and the way his hands shook. But then, he remembered the letters Su Shi had shown him, the lies fed to him about Wei Ying's true intentions for the marriage. "He chose this life," Lan Wangji said, his voice low and cruel. "He knew I did not love him. If he is suffering, it is the consequence of a forced union." Wei Ying felt a sharp, stabbing pain in his abdomen. He gasped, doubling over, his hands clutching his stomach. "Wei Ying!" Wen Ning rushed to catch him. "Get away from me," Wei Ying choked out, eyes fixed on Lan Wangji, tears finally spilling over. "You're right, Lan Zhan. I knew. I was stupid enough to think that for the sake of the baby, you might try to see me. Just once." Wei Ying looked up, his face ashen. "Go to him then. Go to Su Shi. I won't ask for you anymore." As Wei Ying collapsed into Wen Ning's arms, Lan Wangji felt a strange, terrifying flicker of doubt in his chest. But he didn't move. He stood frozen as his brother, Lan Shichen, appeared in the distance with a look of profound disappointment. The Jingshi was silent, but the air in the medical pavilion was thick with the scent of bitter herbs and the frantic pulse of spiritual energy. Wei Ying lay on the narrow bed, his face the color of parchment, his breath coming in shallow, ragged hitches. Lan Shichen stood by the window, his usual composure shattered. He turned as Lan Wangji entered the room, his white robes pristine, his expression still masked in that terrifying, stony calm. He is stable, Shi Chen said, his voice unusually sharp. For now. Brother, Lan Wangji began, but Shi Chen held up a hand. Do not, brother, me, Wangji. I have watched you turn a blind eye to your husband's suffering for months. I thought perhaps it was just the awkwardness of a forced match, but this. Neglecting a pregnant spouse to the point of spiritual collapse. He is stronger than he appears, Lan Wangji said, though his eyes drifted toward the bed. He has the Zhang core. He is giving all his spiritual energy to the child. Wen Ning cried out from the corner, his voice trembling with a rare flash of anger. He has no core to spare, Hangguang Jun. Because you aren't here to share the burden of the bond, the baby is feeding on his very life force. If he continues like this, he won't survive the winter, let alone the birth. The bitter tea. Lan Wangji felt a cold dread settle in his stomach, but the image of the letters Su Shi had shown him, claiming Wei Ying only married him to infiltrate the Lan sect's library, clouded his judgment. He walked to the bedside. Wei Ying's eyes fluttered open. They were dull, the usual spark of mischief replaced by a hollow, haunting emptiness. Lan Zhan, Wei Ying whispered. I am here, Lan Wangji replied, his voice stiff. Wei Ying gave a ghost of a laugh, which turned into a painful cough. Why? Is Su Shi busy? Did he finally let you go for 5 minutes? Wei Ying, do not be difficult. You need to rest. I don't need rest, Lan Zhan. I need you to let me go, Wei Ying said, his voice suddenly steady and terrifyingly calm. Zhang Cheng is right. I should go back to Lotus Pier. You can tell everyone the baby died. You can marry Su Shi. You can finally be happy. The child is a Lan Wangji snapped, the thought of Wei Ying leaving sparking a sudden, violent possessiveness. You are staying here, as a prisoner. Wei Ying looked him in the eye. You don't want me. You don't even want this baby. You just want to keep your duty in a cage. The shadow of deceit. Outside the pavilion, Su Shi waited, his fingers twisting the fabric of his sleeves. He had seen the way Lan Wangji looked at Wei Ying today, not with love, but with a growing, confused desperation. He knew he had to strike harder. He intercepted Lan Wangji as he left the pavilion. Wangji Shang, Su Shi said softly, his voice full of feigned concern. I heard the news. It's tragic. But perhaps it's for the best. A child born of a lie would only bring more pain to the Gusu Lan sect. Lan Wangji stopped. A lie. You know what the letters said, Su. She whispered, stepping closer. He planned this. He wanted the Lan name for protection after his parents died. He's using the pregnancy to chain you. Don't let his illness fool you, he's always been a master of performance. Lan Wangji looked at Su Shi, the man who had comforted him when he was forced into a marriage he didn't want. But then he remembered the way Wei Ying's hand had trembled against his stomach. He remembered the coldness of Wei Ying's skin. A final plea. That evening, Zhang Cheng returned, but he wasn't alone. He had brought a small wooden box and slammed it onto the table in front of Lan Wangji in the Hanshi. What is this? Lan Wangji asked. It's the truth, you idiot, Zhang Cheng snarled. These are the journals Wei Ying kept before the wedding. Read them. Or don't. But know this, if you don't sign the divorce papers by morning, I will burn the cloud recesses to the ground and take my brother home. Lan Wangji opened the box. Inside were dozens of scraps of paper. Greater than, today, the elders said I must marry Lan Zhan. I am so scared, but also, a little happy. I've watched him from afar for years. Maybe, if I'm good enough, he'll learn to like me. Greater than, 3 months married. He hasn't spoken to me in a week. I bought him a new ribbon, but he didn't even look at it. Does he hate me that much? Greater than, I'm pregnant. I'm so happy, but I'm afraid to tell him. He looks at Su Shi with such softness. I wish he'd look at me like that just once. Greater than, the final entry was dated yesterday. Greater than, the baby kicked today. I wanted to tell Lan Zhan, but he was at the lake with Su Shi. My heart hurts more than my body. I don't think I can do this anymore. I'm sorry, little one. I'm so sorry. Greater than. Lan Wangji's breath hitched. The papers fluttered to the floor as he realized the magnitude of his mistake. The letters Su Shi had shown him, they didn't match the raw, bleeding honesty of these journals. He sprinted toward the medical pavilion, his heart hammering against his ribs. But when he arrived, the bed was empty. The window was open, the white curtains billowing in the cold night wind. Wen Ning was gone. Zhang Cheng was gone. And Wei Ying was gone. The rain over Lotus Pier was relentless, matching the storm inside the main hall. Wei Ying sat draped in deep purple silks, the colors of his home, not the cold white of the Lan sect. He looked fragile, his face translucent, but his eyes were no longer filled with the desperate longing that had defined his year in Gusu. The doors swung open. Lan Wangji stood there, drenched, his forehead ribbon crooked, a sight unheard of for the pristine Hanguang-jun. Wei Ying, he breathed, his voice cracking. Zhang Cheng stepped forward, Zidian crackling with purple sparks around his fist. Step 1 foot closer, Lan Wangji, and I'll ensure you never walk back to your mountains. The exposure of a snake. I found him, a voice called out from behind Lan Wangji. Lan Shichen stepped into the light, looking older than he had just days ago. He was dragging a trembling, bound Sushi by the collar. Brother. Lan Wangji turned, bewildered. I searched his quarters after you left, Wangji, Shichen said, his voice dripping with disappointment. I found the stationery. The ink. He forged those letters. He manipulated your memories of your youth to make you believe Wei Wuxian was a spy. He has been poisoning your mind, and Wei Wuxian's tea, for months. Lan Wangji felt the world tilt. He looked at Su Shi, who let out a panicked, jagged laugh. He didn't deserve you. Su Shi spat, glaring at Wei Ying. A servant's son. A boy who forced a marriage through a political contract. I only gave you a reason to do what you already wanted to do, hate him. Lan Wangji's silence was terrifying. He didn't strike Su Shi, he didn't even look at him. He looked only at Wei Ying, his soul shattering as the weight of his own cruelty crashed down on him. Wei Ying. I was blind. I was a fool. The cold rejection. Wei Ying didn't scream. He didn't cry. He simply looked at the man he had loved since they were teenagers, the man who had let him suffer in a cold house while he comforted a liar. Does it matter, Lan Zhan? Wei Ying's voice was soft, barely audible over the rain. It matters, Lan Wangji stepped forward, his hand reaching out. I will make it right. I will spend every day of my life making it up to you. The baby, our child. Don't mention the baby, Wei Ying snapped, a flash of the old fire in his eyes. He placed a protective hand over his stomach. For 4 months, this child has felt nothing from you but coldness. You didn't want him. You called him a consequence. You told me not to demand your heart. I was wrong. Lan Wangji fell to his knees, his pride as the great Hanguang-jun dissolving into the dirt. Wei Ying, please. Come back to Gusu. Let me care for you. Gusu is a graveyard for me, Wei Ying said. He reached into his sleeve and pulled out a folded piece of parchment. He tossed it onto the floor between them. It was stained with a single drop of dried blood. Those are the divorce papers, Wei Ying said. Zhang Cheng helped me draft them. The Lan elders have already been notified. I am no longer your husband. A heart beyond repair. Lan Wangji stared at the papers as if they were a death warrant. No, I won't sign. I love you, Wei Ying. I realized too late, but You don't love me, Lan Zhan, Wei Ying interrupted, a sad, pitying smile on his lips. You love the idea of being a good man who fixes his mistakes. But some things can't be fixed. Every time I look at you, I remember the smell of Sushi's perfume on your robes while I was vomiting blood. I remember the way you looked at me with disgust when I asked you to stay for dinner. Wei Ying, I beg of you. Go home, Hanguang-jun, Wei Ying said, turning his back to him. Stay with your first love, or stay alone. I don't care anymore. My heart didn't break, Lan Zhan. It just stopped beating for you. Wen Ning stepped forward, placing a firm hand on Lan Wangji's shoulder to force him toward the exit. Young Master Lan, please leave. Master Wei's blood pressure is rising. For the sake of the child you claim to care about, leave him in peace. Lan Wangji watched the doors of Lotus Pier slam shut, leaving him in the cold, dark rain. For the first time in his life, the silence of the world was absolute. He had his truth now, but he had lost the only person who had ever truly loved him. Inside, Wei Ying leaned against Zhang Cheng, his body finally shaking. It's over, Zhang Cheng whispered, holding his brother steady. It's over, Wei Ying repeated, his hand stroking his belly. Just us now, little radish. Just us. The humid air of Lotus Pier was punctuated by the sharp, rhythmic sound of oars hitting the water and, more recently, the agonized cries coming from the infirmary. Wei Ying had been in labor for 14 hours. Because of the strain on his golden core during the pregnancy, the birth was grueling. Wen Ning hurried back and forth with basins of warm water, while Zhang Cheng paced the hallway, his face a mask of terror. Outside the main gates of Lotus Pier, a figure in white had been standing for 3 days. Lan Wangji did not eat, did not sleep, and did not speak. He simply waited, his hands trembling beneath his wide sleeves. Finally, a thin, sharp cry broke the silence of the night. The father's arrival. An hour later, Zhang Cheng emerged. He looked exhausted. He saw Lan Wangji and his eyes narrowed, but he didn't draw Zidian. He's alive. The baby is a boy. Lan Wangji's knees nearly buckled. May I see them? Wei Ying said you could see the child, Zhang Cheng said coldly. But only because the child deserves to know the face of the man who almost cost him his life. Do not stay long. Lan Wangji entered the room with footsteps so light they were almost non-existent. Wei Ying was propped up against the pillows, looking skeletal but radiant, cradling a bundle wrapped in purple silk. Wei Ying, Lan Wangji whispered, his heart overflowing with a desperate, blooming hope. He reached out a hand, offering a small, exquisite jade pendant, a protection charm carved from the finest Gusu jade. I brought this for him. And I brought medicinal herbs from the cloud recesses for you. I've spent months preparing. Put them on the table, Lan Zhan, Wei Ying said. He didn't look up. He was busy tracing the tiny nose of the infant. The baby doesn't need jade. He needs to sleep. Wei Ying, please, Lan Wangji knelt by the bed, the position now familiar to him after months of begging. Let me come home. Let me take care of you both. I have dismantled the guest quarters where he stayed. Sushi has been exiled. I have told the elders I will never marry another. That's your business, Lan Zhan, Wei Ying said, his voice flat. But you aren't coming home, because this isn't your home. And I am not your husband. I am just the man you forced to carry a child out of duty. You got what you wanted. Here is the Lan heir. I don't want an heir. Lan Wangji cried out, the composure of Hangguang Jun finally shattering. I want you. I love you, Wei Ying. Wei Ying finally looked at him. His eyes were clear and devoid of any spark of affection. You love the guilt you feel, Lan Zhan. That's not the same thing. Now, please leave. You're waking him. The new light. 6 months passed. Lan Wangji visited Lotus Pier every week. He brought toys, the finest silks, and rare books, but he was never allowed to stay for more than 10 minutes. He was a ghost haunting the life he had thrown away. One afternoon, as Lan Wangji approached the training grounds, he heard a sound that stopped his heart. Wei Ying was laughing. It wasn't the bitter, hollow laugh from the Jingshi. It was the bright, bell-like sound from their youth. Lan Wangji rounded the corner and froze. Wei Ying was sitting on a pier, his legs dangling over the water. Beside him sat a man Lan Wangji didn't recognize, a rogue cultivator named Li Feng. He was handsome, with a warm, sun-kissed face and a messy ponytail that fluttered in the breeze. Li Feng was holding the baby, making funny faces that made the infant squeal with delight. Careful, Li Shang. Wei Ying laughed, leaning his head naturally against the man's shoulder. If you drop him, Zhang Cheng will feed you to the lotuses. I'd never drop A-Yuan, Li Feng said, his voice deep and full of genuine warmth. He reached out and gently tucked a stray lock of hair behind Wei Ying's ear. And I'd never let anything happen to you, either. You're too precious for that, Wei Wuxian. Wei Ying didn't flinch. He didn't pull away. He looked at Li Feng with a soft, shy smile, the kind of look Lan Wangji had spent a year praying for. The finality of loss. Lan Wangji stepped forward, his presence cold and jarring against the warmth of the scene. Wei Ying. The laughter died instantly. Wei Ying's expression shifted into a polite, distant mask. Oh, Lan Zhan. You're early this week. Li Feng stood up, still holding the baby with practiced ease. He bowed respectfully to Lan Wangji. Hangguang Jun. I've heard much about you. Who is this? Lan Wangji asked, his voice trembling with suppressed jealousy. This is Li Feng, Wei Ying said, standing up and taking the baby back. He's a healer. He's the one who Actually fixed the damage my core took during the pregnancy. The damage you ignored. I can provide better healers, Lan Wangji said desperately. Wei Ying, come back to the Jingshi. I have planted a field of loquats for you. Lan Zhan, Wei Ying interrupted. He looked at Li Feng, who gave him an encouraging nod, then back at Lan Wangji. Li Feng asked me to go on a night hunt with him next month. In the south, away from the mountains, away from the sects. You cannot, Lan Wangji breathed. I can, Wei Ying said firmly. For the first time in years, I feel like a person again, not a duty or a disappointment. Li Feng sees me. He listens to me. He stayed with me through the night when A-Yuan had a fever, while you, well, we know where you were. Wei Ying stepped closer to Li Feng, their shoulders touching. I don't hate you anymore, Lan Zhan. Hate takes too much energy. I don't need you. I've found someone who makes me want to wake up in the morning. Please, stop coming here. It's time you lived your life, and let me live mine. Lan Wangji watched them walk away. He watched Li Feng put an arm around Wei Ying's waist to steady him. He watched his son reach out to grab Li Feng's finger. He stood alone on the pier, the weight of his duty finally crushing him, realizing that while he had been busy being the perfect, cold Hangguang Jun, he had let the only warmth in the world slip through his fingers forever. The silence of the cloud recesses was no longer a sanctuary, it was a prison. Lan Wangji sat in the Jingshi, the room where Wei Ying had once tried to make a home for them. He stared at a small, wooden rattle he had bought for A-Yuan, one he had never been allowed to give him. Lan Shichen entered the room, his expression uncharacteristically stern. Wangji, a letter has arrived from Lotus Pier. Lan Wangji stood up so abruptly he nearly knocked over his tea. Is he well? Is the child? They are well, Shichen said, though his eyes remained cold. In fact, more than well. Sect leader Zhang has sent word that Li Feng has formally requested to become the child's legal guardian. They are planning a celebration. It seems. Wei Wuxian is ready to move on completely. Lan Wangji's face went white. The thought of another man's name next to Wei Ying's on a family registry was a physical blow. I must go. I must stop this. Stop it. On what grounds? Shichen asked sharply. You neglected him. You let another man whisper lies in your ear while your husband suffered. Why shouldn't he choose someone who actually treasures him? The secret alliance. Miles away, in the private office of the sect leader at Lotus Pier, the atmosphere was far less solemn. Zhang Cheng was leaning against the wall, a rare smirking shadow on his face. Wei Ying was sitting on the desk, playing with a lotus seed, while Li Feng, actually a trusted childhood friend of the Zhang brothers, was laughing quietly. Did you see his face last week? Li Feng asked, shaking his head. Hangguang Jun looked like he was about to collapse into dust. I almost felt bad for him. Don't feel bad, Zhang Cheng snapped, though his eyes softened as he looked at Wei Ying. He needs to feel exactly what he put Wei Ying through. He needs to know what it feels like to watch the person you love look at someone else with the affection you think you deserve. Wei Ying sighed, looking down at his hands. Is this really necessary, Zhewu Jun? I feel like we're being too cruel. Lan Shichen, appearing via a communication talisman's projection, spoke softly. Wei Wuxian, my brother is stubborn. He was raised with rules and duty, but he forgot how to feel. If he doesn't lose you completely, he will never understand the value of what he had. He needs to be broken to be rebuilt. He's right, Zhang Cheng added. He's coming today. I can feel the spiritual energy of Baikan at the gates. Li Feng, get into position. Wei Ying, look happy. The breaking point. Lan Wangji didn't just walk into Lotus Pier, he practically crashed through the gates. He found them in the courtyard. Wei Ying was laughing as Li Feng fed him a slice of melon. The sight was so intimate, so domestic, that Lan Wangji felt his heart literally stutter. Wei Ying. Lan Wangji's voice was a raw, broken sound. Wei Ying looked up, his smile faltering for a split second before he masked it with a polite, cold distance. Hangguang Jun, you're becoming quite a frequent guest. Are you here for the paperwork? I will not sign anything that gives that man rights to our son, Lan Wangji said, his hand white-knuckled on the hilt of his sword. I will not. Why not? Li Feng stepped forward, placing a protective arm around Wei Ying's shoulders. I'm here every day. I was there for his first tooth. I was there when Wei Wuxian had nightmares about the Jingshi. Where were you? Oh, that's right, you were with Su Shi. I was a fool. Lan Wangji roared, the loudest he had ever spoken in his life. Tears finally spilled over, hot and bitter. I am a wretched, blind coward. I know I don't deserve you, Wei Ying. I know I am the dirt beneath your boots. But please, do not let him take my place. Do not let him love you because I cannot bear the thought of living in a world where you don't even remember my name. Lan Wangji sank to his knees in the dirt, his forehead touching the ground in a deep, agonizing bow of total submission. Kill me. Take my core. Take my life. But do not forget me. The silence that followed was heavy. Wei Ying's breath hitched. He looked at Zhang Cheng, then at the shadow where Lan Shichen was watching from the balcony. Wang Ji, Lan Shichen's voice rang out, no longer cold, but heavy with sorrow. Lan Wangji looked up, his face a mess of tears and grief. You finally understand, Shichen said, walking down the steps. The pain of being secondary. The pain of watching your first love be replaced by another. This is what you did to your husband for a year. Lan Wangji looked at Li Feng, then at Wei Ying. He saw the way Li Feng stepped back, his posture no longer that of a lover but of a respectful guard. It was a plan. Lan Wangji whispered, his voice trembling. A lesson, Zhang Cheng spat. One you desperately needed. Li Feng is my cousin's son. He's been married for 3 years to a woman in Yunmeng. He's just a damn good actor. Lan Wangji turned his gaze to Wei Ying. Wei Ying. Wei Ying walked over slowly and knelt in front of Lan Wangji. He didn't embrace him. He didn't forgive him yet. But he reached out and wiped a tear from Lan Wangji's cheek. The pain you feel right now. Wei Ying whispered. I felt that every single night in Gusu. I felt it every time you left the Jingshi to go see him. I felt it every time you looked at my stomach with duty instead of love. I am sorry, Lan Wangji sobbed, leaning his forehead against Wei Ying's shoulder. I am so sorry. I know you are, Wei Ying said, his voice trembling. But sorry doesn't fix the year I lost. It doesn't fix the blood I coughed up alone. If you want a second chance, Lan Zhan, you don't get to be Hangguang Jun anymore. You have to be mine. Truly, only mine. The morning sun rose over the Lotus Lakes, but for the first time in his life, Lan Wangji did not wake up to the bells of Gusu. He woke up on a simple mat in the guest disciples' quarters of Lotus Pier. He had stripped himself of the ornate, silver-lined robes of the Lan sect. He wore the plain, rough cotton of a junior disciple. His forehead ribbon, the symbol of his restraint and his status, was tucked away in a box. The renunciation. In the main hall, Lan Qiren was livid. He had traveled all the way from the cloud recesses when he heard the news. Wang Ji, you are the pride of the Lan clan. You are Hangguang Jun, the elder roared, his beard trembling. You cannot stay here as a servant to the Zhangs. Have you no shame? Lan Wangji bowed so low his forehead touched the polished wood. Shame is not in the work, uncle. Shame is in the way I treated my husband. I will not return until I am a man worthy of standing beside him. Lan Shichen sighed, his heart breaking for his brother, but he remained silent. He knew this was the only way for Wang Ji to purge the guilt that was eating him alive. Zhang Cheng sat on the throne, arms crossed. Fine, you want to stay. You work. You fetch the water, you scrub the training grounds, and you don't get special treatment. And if Wei Ying tells you to leave, you leave. The silent devotion. Weeks turned into a month. Lan Wangji, once the most respected cultivator in the world, was seen daily hauling heavy buckets of water or kneeling in the dirt to pull weeds from the lotus gardens. Wei Ying watched him from the shadows of the pavilion, cradling A-Yuan. His heart was a battlefield. He wanted to run to him, to tell him it was enough, but every time he closed his eyes, he remembered the cold nights in the Jingshi. One evening, Wei Ying walked to the kitchens to get warm milk for the baby. He found Lan Wangji there, his hands red and blistered. He was clumsily trying to chop spices, the fiery chilies that Wei Ying loved. You'll burn your eyes, Lan Zhan, Wei Ying said softly. Lan Wangji jumped, nearly dropping the knife. Wei Ying, I wanted to make the soup you like. The kitchen staff said it was your favorite. You hate spice, Wei Ying said, stepping closer. Why are you doing this? You've proven your point. Go home. This is not a point, Lan Wangji said, his voice thick with emotion. I am learning who you are. I spent a year ignoring the man I was married to. I want to know what you love. I want to know why you smile. Even if you never love me again, I want to be someone who helps you smile. Wei Ying looked at Lan Wangji's tired eyes and felt a crack in his resolve. A-Yuan, he missed his father today. He wouldn't stop crying. Lan Wangji's face lit up with a flicker of hope. May I? Just for an hour, Wei Ying whispered. The last viper strikes. But the peace of Lotus Pier was a fragile thing. Su Shi, broken and mad with jealousy after being exiled and humiliated, had been lurking in the shadows of Yunmeng. He had lost everything, his status, his proximity to Lan Wangji, and his dignity. He didn't want Lan Wangji back anymore. He wanted Lan Wangji to suffer the way he was suffering. That night, as the moon was obscured by clouds, Su Shi infiltrated the compound. He didn't go for the guards. He went for the one place he knew would destroy both men, the nursery. Wei Ying was resting in the adjacent room when he heard a muffled scuffle. His instincts, honed by years of cultivation, screamed, A-Yuan. He burst into the room to see Su Shi holding a jagged, cursed blade over the cradle. Su Shi's eyes were bloodshot, his face gaunt. If I can't have the life I wanted, you won't have yours. Su Shi hissed. Stay back. Wei Ying cried, reaching for a spiritual tool, but his core was still weak from the birth. He lunged forward to shield the baby with his own body. The ultimate proof. The blade descended, but it never hit Wei Ying. A flash of white and blue light intervened. Lan Wangji had ignored the rules and used his spiritual energy to dash across the compound. He didn't use Baiken to strike, he simply threw himself between Su Shi and his family. The cursed blade buried itself deep into Lan Wangji's shoulder, the dark energy of the curse instantly turning his skin black where it touched. Lan Zhan, Wei Ying screamed. Zhang Cheng and Wen Ning arrived a second later. With a roar of fury, Zhang Cheng unleashed Zidian, the purple whip wrapping around Su Shi's neck and slamming him against the stone wall. Kill him later. Wei Ying sobbed, catching Lan Wangji as he collapsed. Help him. The blade was cursed. Lan Wangji's breath was shallow, his face pale as death. He reached out a trembling, blood-stained hand and touched A-Yuan's cradle first, making sure the child was untouched. Only then did he look at Wei Ying. Is he safe? Lan Wangji whispered. He's safe, you idiot. Why did you do that? You could have used your sword. No time, Lan Wangji gasped, a small, pained smile touching his lips. I promised. I would never let you be alone in the dark again. As the healers rushed in, Wei Ying held Lan Wangji's hand to his heart, the cold walls he had built around himself finally crumbling into dust. Don't you dare die, Lan Wangji, Wei Ying wept. Do you hear me? You still haven't finished that soup. The healing pavilion at Lotus Pier was filled with the scent of lotus and medicinal incense. For 3 days, Lan Wangji had drifted in and out of consciousness as Wen Ning and the Zhang healers worked to draw the dark energy of Su Shi's curse from his body. Wei Ying had not left his side. He sat by the bed, his fingers intertwined with Lan Wangji's pale ones, while A-Yuan slept in a small basket nearby. The awakening. On the 4th morning, the golden sunlight of Yunmeng filtered through the windows. Lan Wangji's eyes fluttered open. His first sight was not the ceiling, but Wei Ying's face, puffy-eyed and exhausted, but filled with a tenderness Lan Wangji hadn't seen in over a year. Wei Ying, he croaked, his voice like gravel. Don't speak, you giant fool, Wei Ying whispered, though a tear escaped and hit Lan Wangji's hand. You almost died. You almost left me to raise this child alone after all that work. Lan Wangji struggled to sit up, but Wei Ying pushed him back down gently. I would never leave you by choice, Lan Wangji breathed. Never again. A real conversation. Lan Zhan, Wei Ying said, his voice turning serious. He looked down at their joined hands. I won't lie to you. The scars from this past year, they aren't gone. I still have moments where I hear the coldness in your voice from the Jingshi. I still remember the smell of that perfume. Lan Wangji's heart sank, but he nodded. I know. I will spend the rest of my life helping those scars fade. I do not ask for instant trust. Only for the chance to earn it. Wei Ying squeezed his hand. Li Feng, the actor, he told me something. He said a man who would jump in front of a cursed blade without a second thought for himself isn't a man acting out of duty. He's a man acting out of a soul-deep love. Wei Ying leaned forward, resting his forehead against Lan Wangji's. I missed you, Lan Zhan. Even when I hated you, I missed the man I thought you were. And seeing you bleed for us, it reminded me that the man I loved is still in there. He is yours, Lan Wangji whispered. He has always been yours. I was just too lost in my own bitterness to see the treasure I held. A new beginning. Months later, a new residence was built on the outskirts of Lotus Pier, nestled between the lakes and the forest. It was a blend of Gusu elegance and Yunmeng warmth. Lan Shichen and Zhang Cheng stood on the dock, watching as the couple walked toward the water. You think they'll be okay? Zhang Cheng asked, crossing his arms, though his expression was softer than usual. They have learned the hardest lesson, Shichen replied, holding a letter from Lan Qiren, who had finally sent his blessings and a crate of high-quality baby toys. They no longer take, forever, for granted. They know that love must be nurtured, not just expected. The Lotus and the Jade. Wei Ying sat on the edge of the pier, his feet splashing in the water. Beside him, Lan Wangji held A-Yuan, who was now a chubby, giggling toddler with a tiny, unofficial land forehead ribbon tied around his wrist. Lan Wangji reached into his sleeve and pulled out a small, wooden box. Inside was a new forehead ribbon, but this one was embroidered with small, delicate lotus flowers along the edges. Wei Ying, Lan Wangji said softly. In Gusu, we say the ribbon is only for family. For the one our heart belongs to. He didn't put it on himself. He handed it to Wei Ying. I don't want to be the great Hangguang Jun of Gusu anymore, Lan Wangji said. I want to be your husband. I want to be A-Yuan's father. If you will have me, take this. Bind me to you. Wei Ying felt his heart swell, finally full and heavy with joy instead of grief. He took the ribbon and, with a mischievous but loving grin, tied it around Lan Wangji's wrist, mirroring the one on the baby. Tied to me, huh? Wei Ying laughed, leaning in to press a firm, sweet kiss to Lan Wangji's lips. You realize I'm a lot of trouble, Lan Zhan. I'll want spicy food every night, and I'll never wake up at 5 a.m. Lan Wangji pulled him closer, his arm strong and steady around Wei Ying's waist. Every day, Lan Wangji promised, his eyes shining with a devotion that would never waver again. Every day means every day. As the sun set over the lotus blossoms, the shadows of the past finally faded, replaced by the laughter of a child and the quiet, unbreakable bond of two souls who had finally found their way home.